Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Future Friday. I am so excited today. We have Brad Chisling on this morning. He's one of our own, and he will talk to us about NotebookLM. I'm so pumped. This is still pretty new, and this is the future. So I'm very excited for you guys to kind of see what it has to offer and get a little glimpse into this incredible platform that's powered by Google Gemini. And Brad, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, well, let's see if it's actually going to play the audio from your computer when we need to do that. So let me know when I click that if you're just listening to me breathe heavy here.
Yeah.
Okay. What the heck is NotebookLM? Is anybody using NotebookLM? Just throwing it
Yes.
what is
Yes,
NotebookLM?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, SG is using NotebookLM. SG was probably using NotebookLM before I even heard about Notebook.
It's so good.
Yeah. So NotebookLM is like an AI power research and note-taking tool that Google put together. It's kind of works hand in hand with Gemini, which is Google's version of ChatGPT. But it's basically like a chatbot or your own personal ChatGPT where you have complete control over the data it references. Okay, so it's not going out into the world. It's like a little container that only knows the data that you put in there. But it has all the same reasoning capability and logic processing that a full-blown ChatGPT would have. But it can only reference what you tell it you can reference. It's like having a kid, right? Like suddenly the house, it only knows what you know, and then you tell it. So you can ask it questions, and it's only going to give you back stuff that you told. It's also completely shareable, right? So if I build a notebook, I can share it with others, and I know that the data they're getting from it is only data that I've vetted, right? It's also really good at summarizing huge quantities of data, talking like hundreds of documents that could be thousands of pages each. In our world, think about like maybe a condo status certificate that's like 100 pages. And you're like, "Ah, I don't want to go through all of this and try to find like the reserve fund status, for example." So you can just dump the status certificate into a notebook and then query like, what's the status of the reserve fund right now? And it'll scan the document and give you the answer. And you could use ChatGPT prompts to get any other information you want out of that status certificate. And like, let's say like my brother-in-law, he works downtown and he's always going back to the same buildings, right? And it would be handy if he could actually track the reserve fund. Like maybe every couple of years, he's going back to the same building. If he just keeps dumping this in, he can actually do his own analytics on, like, for example, the reserve fund on each building. So kind of cool. It also has like a built-in studio, which is kind of like prompt tax that will let you get some really cool and sometimes kind of fun data out of your notebook. Can anybody think of like why, like if you use ChatGPT, why would you want maybe to control all of the data that your prompt is querying? Anybody think of why you might want that?
Hands up. Anyone?
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. Nope. Okay. Well, for me, it's like I've noticed just recently, seems to be a lot more hallucinating going on with the AI, right? Like if you give it a prompt, you kind of, where did you get that answer? Like, how many felonies has Trump been convicted of? And it'll come back and say none. And you're like, what are you talking about? What about this one? It goes, oh yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. And here's like the third list of 34, right? So like a lot of people aren't aware that ChatGPT will go out and it's probably currently getting about 10 to 15% of all of its queries from Reddit. Reddit, right? Like, give me a break. Like, I like sitting back at the end of the day and scrolling through some funny cat and dog videos on Reddit. But like, if I'm looking up zoning bylaws, I'm going to pass on to a client. I don't want that answer coming from like user cheeky monkey 33 on Reddit. Like, and if it is, I want to know, like, I want that source cited, right? So NotebookLM lets you build kind of that containerized knowledge that you can pass on kind of with confidence. So let's just take a look at it. This interface here is Gemini. I don't know if anybody's used Gemini before. It's kind of just like ChatGPT, only it's going to win. It's going to beat ChatGPT for sure. Like you can't take on Google and think you're going to win. Like really, come on. Uh, Google
Basically,
makes more money
basically
than
ChatGPT on steroids and more factual. No gaslighting. It's
no.
my
Get
favorite
so
part.
much.
No gaslighting.
You get so much more here too. You get all kinds of utilities in the background and everything. But anyways, that's a whole other story. So let's just ask it really quick. Who's the best real estate agent in Ontario? Okay. So this is just like a regular ChatGPT query. I'm just using Gemini here, and I'm just going to let that cook. And then we'll just take a quick look here at LM, and then we'll go back to that query. So this is kind of the main screen for NotebookLM, and this is kind of where it stores your notebooks, and you can have an unlimited number of notebooks. You can delete them, you can share them. Yeah, it's a pretty simple interface. There's also a community feature where people have shared notebooks that they've built, and you can get into some really interesting topics here. You can doom scroll through here just as much as any other social media platform. Really cool stuff. So let's go back to my notebooks. And right here is like where you can create a notebook. So let's just crack open a notebook real quick. I'm just going to go back to Google Gemini. So we're talking about, I queried like, who's the best real estate agent in Ontario? And it gives you all this stuff. Oh, well, there's different metrics you can go by. But like Mandy, some of these guys I don't know. But I mean, obviously this is hallucinating because we all know that we're all the best real estate agent in Ontario. That should be our mantra every morning when we get up, right?
Love
So this
that.
is just one way, right?
Say it out loud right now.
Right. Um, okay, so let's go back to the notebook. So like I ran that query in the wild through Gemini or ChatGPT, and I got a big long answer with all these people that it goes out and finds. Some of those sources could be from those agents' own website, right? Like you don't know. Where did they get that from? You have no clue. So in ChatGPT, I have a blank notebook. It knows nothing, has this huge brain, and it's just waiting for me to dump information in here. And one of the ways you can do that is to just go in here and I'm going to just like type a note. And I'm just going to say, let's just go for it. Chisling is the best real estate agent. And then I'm going to insert it. Okay. So now I have this giant ChatGPT brain looking at one source of data. So all of my sources of data are here on the left. And then I have like my ChatGPT interface here in the middle. And then I have Studio Utilities here on the right. Okay, I'm just going to close this panel. We'll get to that later. That's all the good stuff. So, okay, so now I've got one source of data selected, and now I can just query my data. So I can go, who is the best agent? So it's not going out into the world. The only place it's going to look for an answer to my query is in my sources column here. Based on the sources provided, Brad Chisling identified as the best real estate agent, right? No hallucination. It's not sneaking around trying to find answers anywhere else. The distinction of Brad Chisling. Okay, maybe that's a bit of hallucination, but it's okay. So we created a notebook and we added a source to it and we queried the source. So let's try something a little bit harder. I'm going to create a new notebook. And in my query window here, I want to look for sources. I don't have any particular sources. Let's say we're going to do Barrie zoning bylaws. I don't know if anybody's ever had to look up a Barrie zoning bylaw, but that document is like 1,000 pages. It's completely ridiculous. So I don't have that PDF handy, but I can ask NotebookLM to get that. Oops. And I've asked Notebook to search the web for Barrie zoning bylaw. And I'm just going to change the name of my notebook up here. It'll actually,
You tried the deep research feature yet? I have not played with it yet. I'm just curious if you have.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll show
Okay.
you a notebook I use with the deep research. Time wise though, it can take a little while. Like it's seriously doing deep research, and it'll go away for like 20 minutes and then come back like, before it gives you a result.
I mean, at
Okay,
least he
so
does.
exactly. Okay, so over here in the column, I've got some fast research completed, and it's giving me 7 sources, and I can click here and I can look at those sources. Okay, so I've got the Barrie Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw. This is probably the key document that I'd be looking for here. If I want to know exactly what they're looking for, I can click on this link and it's going to take me out so I can actually see what it's referencing, right? So this is the document that I really, really want. I'm going to keep that one. Okay. So, oops, sorry. And so I've got some other sources here. I can go through here and skim. Like 1 or 2 of these might be like the Barrie Gazette's comment on a zoning change, right? And I might not want that. I can just go here and click it and deselect it. Just for the time and speed, I'm going to import all of these sources into my notebook. Some of these documents could be really big.
Any questions so far while we wait for the documents to upload?
This is actually kind of slow. It's usually a lot quicker, but yeah, any questions on that so far?
Everyone taking it all in. I did put
Mm,
the URL for NotebookLM into the chat. So you just have to make sure to use it. You have to be logged into your Google account.
Google.
If you don't have a Google account yet, what are you doing? Get one. Get
So,
one
so
now.
yeah, like this is actually the pro version of NotebookLM, but there is a free version you can use. I use the pro just because of some of the other features that are in there. Like you get a pro version of Gemini and Nano Banana and stuff like that too. But the free version is totally cool. The only thing it limits you on is the number of articles and number of pages in an article, but it's still like ridiculously generous for now on how much you can put in there. Okay, so here's all of the sources that we prompted, and I think this is probably hanging us up. There might be 1 or 2 bad links in there. That's why I've been choking on that. But now I've got at least sources in here that I know I can trust because I went through and I vetted all of these, and I can just ask it a question like, any questions? What zoning do I need to build a gas station? Let's try that.
This is crazy. Like, this is so useful for your clients when they ask you guys those kinds of questions. Like, you can just really go super deep and get answers faster instead of having to call around or whatever. This is amazing. Such a good
So it's
idea to
gonna
use it this way.
it's referencing all of these different documents and it's citing the answers. So I need a C1, I need C2, C3, C4, talks about not permitted, means C5. Any of these prompts here, I can click on the citation note and it will actually take me back to where it's getting that. Okay. So I have confidence that the data I'm passing on is actually accurate. Cool. Now I've got a Barrie zoning bylaw notebook that I can add to over time, right? Like the next time I go in here, I can query and say, find me any sources on Barrie zoning bylaw newer than January 16th, 2026, and it will add it. Right? So I've always got an updated version of my Barrie zoning bylaw. I could do this for Newmarket, Georgina, whatever. And you can have multiple notebooks all set up for these different queries. I could also share this. Okay. So I can share it with a teammate, a client, just say, hey, look, here's my notebook. Here's what it's got in here. You can run your own queries against this if you want. And I'm confident that the sources that I've included have been vetted by me. Okay. All right. Okay, let's do something cooler. I'm going to create a new notebook. And so written sources, websites, PDFs, all that stuff you make yourself, no problem. You can put it in here. But it's also really cool at digesting video and audio information. I love me some Daniel Foch Big Brain videos here, right? This guy's got some super amazing content. Um, but sometimes he goes pretty deep down the rabbit hole, right? Let's try to find one. Yeah, a good one on here. Oh yeah, look at this. So mortgage stress test removal coming 2026. What? Like, I want to know this, but I don't have 48 minutes. Daniel, come on. Like, I don't have 48 minutes to sit here listening to Daniel talk about this. So what I can do is I can fire up
Hackers.
the
We can
video.
make you believe.
We can hear your sound, by the way.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause Walt Goggins here, as dreamy as he is too. And I'm just gonna copy the link for the YouTube video. And you go back to my NotebookLM. If you want, you can go up here and just say paste that source, insert it. So pretty much in the time it would have taken me to watch that ad, not even to get the video, like just watch the ad, it's already scanned the contents, scraped them into a summary, and it's ready for me to prompt. Okay. I could go in here and I could prompt to say, give me a summary of this article, but it's also got some cheat prompts over here in the studio that I can use instead, maybe as a shortcut. I'm just going to click on reports. And here's kind of like the shortcut prompts it's already got ready for me to go. Create your own briefing doc, story guide, and you played your set there, already looking at the blog post piece like me. I'm like, what? I can do a blog post? Yeah, so here I can, if I click on the edit button, it's going to give me the prompt it's actually using to create this blog post from the contents of Daniel's video. Okay, and you can read that. I found this is really pretty good. You can select the language, and you've got clients in different languages. In this case, we're going to stick with English, and I'm going to ask it to generate a blog post. I've got some other tools over here too. I've got a mind map. I would love to see kind of the flow of that video that Dana's put together because it's pretty amazing. And then I've got an infographic option. I'm going to click on the edit tool. And I wanted to create an infographic on the contents of Dana Foch's video. So I got some options depending on where you want to put your infographic. You can do landscape, portrait, or square. Let's say I wanted to do an infographic I was going to share on Instagram. I would probably want to do portrait, right, Misty? Portrait, I think.
Yes, that's what I use as portrait because you can turn it
Okay,
into a reel that way. Yeah.
exactly. Okay, that's cool. And then you can select the level of detail. If you go concise, it's usually not a lot of content in there. If you go standard, it's usually pretty good. If you go detailed, it tends to pack a lot in there and maybe you can't really read it that well. And then you can go down here and give it like guides on color choices and stuff like that if you've got like a theme that you're trying to match up with. And then you just click generate. Okay, so now it's generating infographic. So the mind map is finished here. Let's take a quick look at the mind map. So this is the mind map basically that shows the flow of that video. So I've got the storage stress test. These are kind of like the main sections in that video. I can break them down. So the overview and function talks about the definition of what the stress test is, the purpose of what the stress test is. I can get a timeline of the stress test, like what were the consequences of the stress testing, and talk about the shift in 2026 and how that's going to impact people. But let's say I wanted to like drill in on one of these points. I want to know like how is the change in the stress test in 2026 going to affect first-time home buyers? And it's basically going to queue up my prompting to query only that section of Daniel's video. Okay, and then I can go ahead and click on any of these pre-prompted, pre-written prompts and get some information on that. So pretty cool, really good way to digest information. Like, I don't know, it seems like podcasts are getting longer and longer these days. Like some of my favorite podcasts are like 3 hours long now, right? Like I don't have 3 hours to deal with that. So this is a really good way to digest that information. You can just drop it in there. And I could have like mixed sources here. I could drop other videos in from Daniel just to get like a couple of different opinions on a topic. Do you have to be careful with this? You don't want to be plagiarizing data. You could, like, for example, a funny story, like I went into one of Daniel's sites and I kind of used a backdoor thing to get in there and get some data out of there. And I used that data to make a chart, and I put that chart on one of my posts. The next day, Daniel had taken my chart and used it in his post and had like 20 times the views from my chart. So people are watching, right? Like you got to be careful what you share. But, kind of to make this your own, like you could write your own article and put it in here. You could get opinions from other sources and put it in here and then ask it to make an infographic and kind of steer how that infographic is going to get made. Okay. So let's take a look at our infographic. Sorry, let's take a look at the blog post real quick. So here's the blog post that I wrote. 5 surprising truths about Canada's mortgage stress test and why it not be what you expected. So this is only from Daniel's video, and I've written a pretty decent looking blog post on that. Right? Pretty cool. Let's take a look at the infographic it generated. This is always a fun part of the day here. You can see what it came up with.
So cool.
Yeah, mortgage stress test, end of an era. And yeah, it talks about it's a pretty decent. It's using Nano Banana to create the graphics here. I found they're pretty decent little infographics. Right?
And what's really cool with the infographics is you can give it any style you want. So I saw an example where someone asked for like was it kindergartners or like first graders to create an infographic on like the day, like kind of what the sun does, and then said, and then once it had all that information, it made an infographic on that and told it to make it in a claymation style. Took that infographic, put it in VO3, and made the infographic come to life. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It crying a little. It was that pretty. And it's just, you can do, honestly, so much cool stuff. Like literally the sky is the limit. And by the way, I have been using the free version and I've had no problem so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I believe it.
You're just a little
yeah,
limited
like
with how much you can do of a thing. That's the only thing I
the
would say.
the prompting is amazing, and like whatever your imagination is really kind of the only limit there. Okay, so let's talk about maybe a little bit more down to earth practical use of it. Here's my notebook I made, sorry, for 102 The Country Way. It's a listing I have in Kitchener. So for sources, I took the Realm MLS data sheet, okay, and all the history that was in there and the photos. I took my walk around notes that I just did on my phone while I was going through with the client in the note app, and just copied and pasted those in here. I took the impact square footage and I took the geo warehouse. Okay, dropped that all in, and I now have a LLM, or sorry, an NLM for this particular listing. So what could I do with this now? Can anybody think of what you could do with that? Something really cool. What do you hate doing? I hate making my, for sure, you can do that. First thing that I do though is I do description.
This is so cool. Anyone who's data driven, like I am, I was just so excited when you're like, I inputted this document, this one, the square footage report, the geo report. I'm like, oh my God, what's it going to spit out?
It's also a game changer on how you learn things because you can pick out of the studio what's going to work best for you to in terms of learning. Like I've taken tutorials on certain platforms that I wanted to learn and I put them in here, and then I was able to choose based on how I learned best how I want to intake that data. So it's amazing. Like even for students, this is an incredible tool for learning. If you have kids at home.
Right. Yep. I hate doing descriptions, right? Like I'm terrible at it. Tennis was like, are you kidding me? I gotta rewrite this whole stupid thing. You're the worst agent on the team, right? So now I can just go in here, put this query, this and it will actually write a pretty decent description of the listing. And I can go in here and just say, oh yeah, change the first letter of every word to a capital, and maybe just make it a little more cheery sounding, right? Boom. Focus on the kitchen and the renovation. So it's pulling like information I put in here in my walk around about the renovations. It's looking at the photos and adding details that are in the photos and nowhere else. It's very, very cool. One of the things over here is a quiz. So let's say I haven't been in this listing. I'm doing an open house, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm just sitting in the car, and I want to try to remember the details of this property. It's actually making a quiz about the information in this property. During the impact floor, how many square feet is the floor? Got it right. Right. What school? Oh, sorry. What park is in walking distance? Clean. Yeah, got it right. So you can kind of like drill yourself on that stuff, which might
Who
have some
doesn't want
use
to
for it,
start the day with a pop quiz?
right? But like you could have that pop quiz doing some very like you could do it on those very zoning bylaws. Good luck, right? Like that's pretty cool. You can make flashcards, right? Again, this is kind of a simplified application for this, but
So when you click on the,
okay.
I just have a quick question about the flashcards. I haven't played with that feature yet. So if you want to see the answer, you
Uh-huh.
just click where it says see answer and it flips the card or something.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Oh, that's amazing. Again, great
Mhm.
for learning.
So good for learning. Yeah, like if I was going to university again, I would probably still not use this, but it'd be an amazing opportunity to see this. Okay, let's try something really hard. This is probably the most complex of the notebooks I ever made. This is the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. Okay. This is a constant thorn in my side. Like I will absolutely lose my shit. Sorry. When somebody goes, look at this lot. Is it buildable? Are you kidding? Have you never done this before? So I'm just going to kill this. Come on, history. Okay, so I did some super deep research. I found articles that I vetted just on, how the Conservation Authority works, like planning department, like what are some really important factors that go into the consideration of this. And I basically have now a notebook that I could share with a team member or with a client that says, let's just, hold on, let me put a good prompt in here. Okay, give me the process of determining is buildable and what are the associated costs per step. So because this is an LM and it's all contained data, like I don't have to be super specific to my prompting. Like it knows I'm talking about homes that are in the Lake Simcoe area, right? And it's going to go through here, go through all the different sources, and it's going to spit out a pretty substantial and long answer about the process that you need to go through to determine whether a lot is buildable in that area. Still thinking. Okay. So determining if a lot is buildable involves a multi-step process, due diligence, physical site assessments, regulatory approval. This process is significantly more rigorous if the land is located environmentally. Step one, initial due diligence site assessment. And it will go through the entire process, breaking down the costs per step. Okay. It's pretty amazing. I can ask it to refine this. I can say, just put this in a chart. I can do all kinds of stuff with this data. I would love to get this, but there's probably some folks who that's going to be a little overwhelming. So instead, what I did was I went in here and I went into the studio up here where it says video overview. And here's probably some of what she was talking about. And I said, I want to make an explainer video using, you can pick your different graphics and stuff. Sorry, your different graphics down here. But you can say, oh, I want it to look like this. And then give it the prompt. Like, I want to create a video that goes through the steps and the costs of determining that. So it takes about 10 minutes to make that video, but here is what my video looks like.
So you've got this dream, right? Buying a beautiful piece of land, building your perfect home from the ground up. It's an amazing vision, but it can also turn into a super expensive nightmare if you're not careful. So how do you know if that dream plot of land is actually buildable?
Okay, in your prompting, you could maybe shape it to be maybe not so negative or use the words like nightmare and stuff like that. But
You finally found it.
so it goes through, it's a 7-minute video.
Incredibly detailed 3D maps of the entire watershed. This is the super precise data that feeds right into their flood risk model. You're in the clear, right? Home free? Not so fast. Now you have to enter the wonderful world of paperwork, and you have to pay for the official permission to build. See, every single step we've talked about so far, from that big environmental review all the way down to the site-specific tests, it all leads to a pile of applications. And guess
So there are a lot of ways you can shape these videos through your prompting, but they're pretty good. Like, none of these graphics existed. It creates all the graphics itself. You can shape the voicing. You can tell it how long you want that video to be. But if you invest a little bit of time in it, you have a video that I don't think you should hesitate to share with clients, right? Or even put on your website or wherever you're doing with that stuff.
So great. Anna, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Like, from what I understand, to provide all this information and to create the video, do you first have to collect information from the sources and add it to LM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
you do. But that's an easy thing to do. You just go in and say, give me sources on determining whether a lot is buildable or not in the Lake Simcoe area. Right? That's how you start that. And it will go out there and it will find sources. And then you just go through those sources yourself and vet them and make sure that they make sense. You don't want to have like articles from newspapers or opinion pieces. You want to make sure that it's coming directly from the government or the conservation authority or the town or something like that.
Gotcha.
And then you keep all those sources and then you can query them.
Oh, so that it's much easier than you have to go and scroll down all those, sources.
Right.
Let's say Lake Simcoe
Right.
Conservation and maps and all that stuff, right?
Right. And then you can ask a single question of all of those sources, and NotebookLM will find the answer and compile an answer referencing all of those different sources. So we're getting short on time here. The last thing I wanted to show you real quick was this last notebook I did. It's obviously not on cats, but it's something I do kind of as a work in progress every month. I just go through the month and any articles that reference, what's going on in housing that month. I kind of dump it into the notebook. And then at the end of the month, I take the Market Watch stuff from Treb, and I drop that in kind of as the data to see where the month has gone. And I can do all the same thing. I can generate a report. I can generate an infographic on the real estate for the month. And one of the last things I didn't really show you is the audio. So audio review. This is basically building a podcast around the data you've put in there. Okay. You can select whether you want a deep dive, a brief, a debate. And like deep dive, for example, is two hosts that are talking about the subject matter. Okay. And then you can prompt it and say, make this brief podcast about, the market, the challenges from last month and what might be happening next month. Okay? Click generate and it'll go away and it's going to make a podcast for you. In this case, this one, I've asked it to be interactive. So it's kind of fun here. Like this podcast was back in November. And just click play. When you're dealing with normally when you create a podcast, you can like when I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm watching at 1.5 times speed. You can normally do that with the podcast. With the interactive version, you can't. You just have to play it. You can't really jump around. But let's just play it real quick, and you can kind of listen
Welcome to the deep
what's going
dive.
on
Today
here.
we're going to try and cut through some of the noise. You know, those real estate headlines that can be a little anxiety inducing.
All those shouts about massive annual drops.
Exactly. So our mission today is really surgical. We're going to find out what the November 2025 TR Rev data means for you, specifically if you're a homeowner in the Northern 905.
We're talking about detached properties in Dark Region and Simcoe County.
And we'll take an even closer look at places like Newmarket and Georgia.
So I can pause this.
And I think we have to do that kind of analysis because the main narrative is so often driven by just a single number.
And then I can interact. Okay. So she's talking about a single number there. And I'm like, what the heck is she mean?
Year-over-year sales. Hey there. Want to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah. What single number are you referencing?
You know, that's a great interjection.
And yes, we absolutely do know.
That single number we're referencing, that one that gets all the headlines.
It's the year-over-year sales volume decline.
We were just about to say it.
Precisely. And in November...
Went
Yeah, sorry, I
really
don't like
quiet.
that.
Like it's a little hard
Yeah,
to
no,
hear all of a sudden.
So, okay, so I interjected a question and they were like, hey, that's a really great question. And then they started talking about my question. They answer my question and then they kind of go on with their spiel. Okay. So, like, it's a little bit, you heard the way you said Treb and whatever, like, it's a little bit kludgy, but if you prompt it well enough, it's definitely something you can share with clients. And I mean, just my mind gets blown when I think about where this is going to be in 6 months, right? Like, how far they came in 3 months is amazing. Like, where are they going to be by the end of the year? This is incredible. So,
And they keep adding different platforms to Gemini that you can use. So like, you know, you already have VO3, you have Nano Banana, now you have NotebookLM. There's so many other ones that I've been looking at. They're in like, it's insane. It's like unbelievable. Jamie has a question in the chat, Brad. When you publish something to the web or share the info with a client, does it include the sources where you got the information? That's a great question.
depends how you do it. If you can share, like I can go up here and share access to the notebook, and I can just add people in groups, and it will send, as long as they have a Google login, it will send them the invitation. So, like for example, I shared my notebook on the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority with Jennifer, right? So she can go in and query and use the notebook just like I would, and I can set permissions. Does it allow her to add sources or edit sources? So on that level, I probably wouldn't give that level of access to a client. What I would probably do with a client, though, is give them the output from the studio, right? Like I can share my podcast here. I can just go in here and go share, and then they can only listen to the output content that I've kind of vetted for them. So a podcast. And then like the infograms and stuff like that, like you can just download those and put those right on Instagram or whatever you're doing, right? Like,
That's a really cool one. That looks awesome, that infographic.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does an amazing job. Even though it's not going outside to get data, like you don't have to feel insecure about the data it's posting. You just have to make sure it's using it right. Like sometimes it'll reverse 2024, 2025 or 2025, 2026 stats. You just gotta like make sure the columns are all labeled right and stuff like that sometimes. But other than that, it's been really, really good. But I find like the quality of the graphics are pretty good. The colors it pays attention to. Every once in a while, like you should say, make it a Toronto theme. You might have like what's the Freedom Tower in New York in there or something like that. You just gotta watch a little bit and you can kind of guide it a bit. Anybody else have any questions? That's all I was gonna show you. But I think it's like just in the short time, like the maybe 5 months I've been using it, it's changed so much. It's gotten so much better. I can't imagine where they're going to be by the end of the year. It's going to be incredible.
100%. It's just so immersive. It's amazing. And just the stuff they're adding. ChatGPT who?
Well, and I think about all the content I have in OneNote or Notion or something like that you just accumulate as a real estate agent, like all the different webinars you go to and just so much content.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much getting to the transition point where I'm not using OneNote anymore. I'm just starting to, like, obviously I don't have like 15 notebooks on cats and dogs, but I've gotten to the point where I'm using that and I can just query it. Like I can pull up my phone and just click on my phone and go, hey, like what's the answer to this, and like so go, and it'll pull that and give it to me. It's just so much easier and quicker.
Amazing. Brad, thank you so much. This was an incredible intro to NotebookLM. Very good. I really appreciate you coming on this morning. I was so excited about it. I hope you all learned lots of amazing things and you're going to go play with your NotebookLMs today or this weekend and have some fun with it and see what it can do for you in your listings and other data that you need and use. And we're going to send out a replay as well, just so you all can rewatch this in case you have kind of want to take a look again and you're maybe a little bit stuck. So I wish you
If
all
you,
go ahead, Brad.
I was gonna say, if you find a cool way to use this as a real estate agent, please share it. 'Cause,
Yes.
yeah.
Send us a message. We want to know how you're using it for sure. Love that. Well, everyone, have an incredible day. Make amazing things happen. Again, thanks, Brad, so much for hopping on this morning. And then we'll see you all next week.